Hi, Homeworthy. My name is Hilary. Welcome to my house in Brielle, New Jersey. Come on in. I'd love to show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name is Hilary Decker Seitz, and I am the owner and founder of Fig Home Co., which is a home decor shop with interior design services in Manasquan, New Jersey. And you are at my home at the beautiful New Jersey shore. My husband and son and I have been living in our home for 5 years. We purchased a home in 2020. We lived in a small town a neighboring town called Manasquan, which is a Victorian town. And we wanted a little bit more space. We wanted a little bit more property. We dreamed of having a pool one day. So in 2020, this house came up. We had known about the house. It's a lovely little lane that we walk often. My mother lives nearby. There's a little yacht club at the end of the street, which we're involved with. And the house came on the market, and we knew that it was the right home for us. So we bought it in 2020, and we spent the first 3 years sort of dreaming and planning on what we wanted to do to the house. We did a little bit of a renovation to make it as aesthetically pleasing for us for the short term, knowing that we were going to do some work over time. And then about a year ago, we began renovations. We've been out of the house for a year, and we just came back a couple of weeks ago. So we're still just getting settled back in. So welcome to my living room. This living room is in the original part of the house. As I mentioned, we put an addition on recently, but we maintained the core of the home, which we believe was built in about 1925. So this is where we do the majority of our hanging out. We have a beautiful fireplace here, which we sort of updated during the renovation as well, put in some beautiful gas logs, all of the original brick. This room feels very coastal. There's a lot of texture. There's obviously a lot of vintage happening in here, all playing off of the white upholstery, which again, it's that combination of old and new, which I think really makes a room sing. So, vintage coffee table, vintage side tables, a beautiful old farm table. Really loving the patina in here, especially against the white walls and the trim. I'm a collector of artwork. We love vintage oil paintings. As you can see over here, these are a couple of my favorites. I love a shabby old gold frame. Always pick them up when I see them. So yeah, it's just a really nice place to sort of display our collection of artwork. We have some pressed botanicals, which are another sort of decorative object that we collect. These are originals. These came from France. So I love how these hung together make a really strong statement. And the black frames, because every room has to have a little bit of black. The chick blinds, which are very special to me, and I knew I always wanted them. And when we came back to the house, I knew it was finally time to go for them. And I started in one room, and I ended up buying them for the majority of the windows down here. I love how the light filters in, but there's still a beautiful textural element. And I just think they're really special, and they really suit the room very well. I am a big fan of lighting. To me, lighting is definitely the jewelry in a home. I pay extra attention to lighting and hardware. Those are the types of things that I think make a room sing. So I had purchased these visual comfort milk glass pendants with an unlacquered brass, which I think are really, really spectacular in here. And I added one to the television room as well. So it's just really cozy. All of the furniture is washable. Obviously, I have a dog. This is my dog, Betty, and I have a 13-year-old son. So things get dirty, life gets dirty, and all of the slipcovers go in the wash with bleach. And I've always lived that way, and I find it actually quite easy to take care of. Block prints are something that we are known for at Fig. We sell beautiful pillows, table linens. All of these are hand blocked. I have a major passion for block prints. I use them and sprinkle them throughout the house wherever I can. There's a very sort of Provençal vibe I find from them. I love seeing them in houses in the south of France. So to me, they're very cozy and sweet, but yet they're also a little bit contemporary when you pair them against a stark white couch. So a little bit of pattern play in here with stripes and florals, because you kind of can't go wrong with stripes and florals, and together they're a perfect combination. again, just more vintage gilt mirror here. This is a beautiful one that I love. It's very sizable and the beveled glass, so this was definitely a keeper, and I knew I wanted it in a pride of place. Sisal rugs, 100% all the time. It's another one of those core things that I always love to have. To me, just the neutral color, the very nubby texture, it just gives a very relaxed and casual look to any space. They're very easy to take care of. They hide a multitude of sins. And on the coffee table, I like to keep my favorite magazines close at hand, some coffee table books that we're always sort of, gravitating to. Some fresh florals and a candle always make a perfect statement on a coffee table. So I like to have it sort of set up this way most of the time. Yeah, and I sprinkle my coffee table books around the house. You'll see them everywhere. They're my emotional support coffee table books. My husband, of course, tells me I have too many. I'm a collector of them. I pull them out constantly, and they're a great source of inspiration for me. So I like to have them at arm's length. And this is Betty. This is our 4-year-old golden doodle who is part of the family, and we love her very much, and she loves the house. And obviously she has claimed this corner of the sofa as hers. So over in this corner, again, sort of to follow up with that mix of old and new, which again is what I think is so important in a room. This is a funky old chair. This was my grandmother's. This is called a Kerber pretzel chair, and they were made in Pennsylvania, I believe in the very early 1900s. And I love the contemporary shape. It's an important chair in furniture history, so I love that it was hers. And when you mix it with, a 1940s floral oil painting, that's where that combination is just really magical. So this is a pretty little spot in this room. Now I'd like to take you on a tour of the newer section of the house, which we're very proud of, and we've been here about 3 weeks now, and it's a very massive transformation from what it was before. Where we're standing, this is the current scullery, we call it. This was actually the kitchen in the home until we renovated this past year. So this was the kitchen. There was a small island in here. There was perimeter cabinetry, floor to ceiling. It was small, but it was mighty. And as we added the new kitchen, which I'll take you into afterwards, we decided to keep what we could, to repurpose the room. We kept the appliances, and then now we have this lovely space that we can do overflow. If we're entertaining, we can set up as a buffet. I can do some flower arranging in here. When you want to just put your mess so nobody can see it, it goes into this space. This is where we have our morning coffee, baking supplies. I can house some of my transferware and vase collection. And we really didn't have to do terribly much. We refinished the floors, put in these beautiful panels, which I think really make the room. And we carried over the arch detail, which you'll see sprinkled throughout the house. So it really, I think, is a very special result. And I'm thrilled with the way that it turned out. And then from that, we were able to create this little bit of a gallery hallway, which I love. And this just has a couple of my favorite, these are actual prints. These are prints, not actual drawings, but I love a figural drawing. So we have a large scale male figural drawing here and a little bit of a contemporary black and white watercolor over here. But again, just keeping all of the original details of the house was so important to us. So we kept the beadboard wherever it was. We added it to continue that story from front to back of the house. The arches are repeated throughout. We unearthed some beautiful exposed brick from the back of the chimney. We ripped out the ceilings in this room, so we were able to keep the original beams and the original beadboard. So instead of covering it back up, the more we took down, the more we loved it. So you can see all of the holes where the old knob and tube lighting used to be, but we love the character that this room has and what we were able to keep. A couple of nice details to point out in here as well. Again, my affinity for block prints. We have a block printed jute rug on the floor here for a little bit of pattern, and some easy breezy cafe curtains just to keep, this is the driveway side of the house, so it keeps the light in, but yet it hides any of the uglies that may pop up from time to time, and it gives it that sort of nice filtered light. I do collect transferware. I collect brown and white transferware, and I collect blue and white transferware. I collect ironstone bits and pieces, and this is a nice spot that I can sort of contain it and keep it. And when I know that I need to grab a vase, I know exactly where to come to. And also it's a place to be able to put things away, which is a real bonus to have. This is a wonderful little table that I picked up we were up on the North Fork of Long Island, which is a place that we love to go in a town called Southold. And I always find a lot of bits and pieces when we're out there. So this one came home with us on our last trip. So I was thrilled that it found a perfect little pride of place in the scullery. And then Betty has her special little vintage Danish transferware food bowls. So we can't forget about the dog. So she loves transferware too. So we have unfinished brass hardware throughout the house. And this is hardware that we kept from the original design when it was the kitchen. And you'll see that detail as consistent throughout the house. We kept everything unlacquered brass, and as we move into the new kitchen, which I'll show you in a minute, you'll see that we have continued that story here. It works really well back to the gold mirrors, to the black and white statement, and I think it's a really nice punch for a very clean, crisp, white setting to have those accents of brass and gold. My personal style is definitely classic. It's collected. I'm a firm believer in mixing vintage and modern. I have very few new pieces. I like to buy a new couch or a new chair, but really 99% of the stuff that you see is from antique shops, and I'm always on the hunt for the perfect vintage find. It's minimal, but it's not cold. I always love to have a background or a backdrop of neutrals, particularly white walls, white sofas, that type of thing, because I think it's the perfect canvas for all of the items that we've collected over time, things that we love, and that is really the jewelry in the house to me. So a very neutral backdrop with all of the wonderful things that we love peppered throughout. From here, I'm going to take you into the very newest part of the home, which we just recently completed. So this is brand new. So you're just transitioning from the old house into the new house. And in this new addition, we have a powder room, this pretty laundry room, and a lovely kitchen, eat-in kitchen. So actually, I'll point out to you, if I may, this beautiful powder room, which I like to say, if I had to live in one room in the house, it would be this powder room because I think it's absolutely charming. This is beautiful ceramic handmade sconce and pendant light. These are very special, and I think they really make the room, it gives it a lot of character and personality. This is an artist. Her name is Susan Habel. She's out of Texas, and I've always admired her work. And I just think that the statement of the black and white and gold in this little itty bitty powder room is really magical, and it works really well. Beautiful waterworks faucet here. This is in polished nickel. I'm all about mixing metals. I love the play of polished nickel with gold and brass because it's just a really nice juxtaposition, and I think it works really well in here. We have another chick blind, and it's just a lovely little powder room, and it smells like paint still, which I love. And we added beadboard here as well. Again, another spot where we wanted to continue to throw in character details from the original house. So I think this was very effective here. And so from here, you transition into the laundry room, and we have our washer and dryer behind this skirted butcher block counter, which is really great because it hides the mess and it allows a lot of good laundry folding to happen up here. This is the first of many of this handmade, also ceramic handmade sconce in an aged brass finish. And these sconces are throughout the kitchen, which you'll see, and they are from Duval, the English kitchen cabinetry and fixture company, and I'm a big fan, and I knew I wanted to have them in this space, so I'm thrilled. Just a lovely little oil painting. This is of a house in a town called Seagirt, which is a couple of towns away, and it's really a nod to the Jersey Shore when there were a lot of little capes and Dutch colonials before everything got very big and fancy. But it's just something that I've always thought was really lovely and charming, and it reminds me of the olden days in these parts of New Jersey. So what we wanted to do, I think, which we did effectively in the addition, was to create as seamless a transition as possible. And it really feels like this part of the house is as old as the original, in my opinion. Again, these are Duval cute little drop pendant lights instead of recessed lighting. The beams that we were able to age with, my contractors were incredible, just beating them up with hammers and some saws and that type of thing to give it some really nice texture and age. And then running the beadboard from floor to ceiling, wrapping the ceiling, really makes it feel like it's always been here. And again, we repeated the arch details. So you'd have to really know that this is brand new because it feels very, very consistent with the rest of the house. Again, just more of our lovely gold mirrors, some unlacquered brass hooks. This is where backpacks and sun hats and baseball hats, my son is a baseball player, so all of his stuff is usually hanging on these hooks. Of course, I cleaned it up for today, but this is a very well-used space. And it also is one of the exits to the home. There is we have a pair of these in the addition. I love the inclusion of this Dutch door, of which we have a couple. And to me, they're just really lovely. And it allows great ventilation. And it's just nice when you want to get some fresh air in, but you don't want to commit to having the whole door open. And they're just lovely to look at, let's be honest, and beautiful brass hardware. So these make me very happy. Lovely little coat closet. I'm really happy that we added this punched detail, very English. And again, it provides some nice ventilation, and you'll see that detail throughout the house as well. So yeah, just continuing along with all of the brass hardware. And I think now we can probably go ahead and walk into the kitchen, which is right beyond this arched doorway. I would call the house, it's definitely a cottage. It's a nice, chunky American coastal cottage. It was probably built as a summer house. So it retains that classic American cottage style. And we wanted to make sure that we really protected that through the course of our work and renovations. For instance, it's very inspired or similar to, I would say, we're very inspired by big, cool summer cottages of New England. We love the East End of Long Island. Shelter Island is a very favorite place of ours. So it's very reminiscent of those types of homes that you would find in these places, East Hampton, Sag Harbor, just that beefy, cool American summer cottage. It just draws you in from the minute you step onto the front porch. It's just very welcoming, and you know that there's, good times are inside. Welcome to my kitchen. We are thrilled with the way this turned out. This was we spent many years planning this renovation in this kitchen, and it is exactly what we had dreamt of, and I'm thrilled with it. And this is a very English-inspired kitchen. We have shaker cabinetry. We have beautiful paneled appliances, so it helps with that really seamless sort of built-in, almost furniture-esque style of the cabinetry, again with the unlacquered brass hardware, which we think gives a lot of warmth and it will patina over time. I'm a marble girl. We have a honed Carrara marble, which to me, the more dings and scratches and stains, the better. You have to really embrace that if you're gonna go with a marble kitchen. But this is our third kitchen that we've done with marble, and I wouldn't have it any other way. There's just so much warmth and age and soul in these stone countertops, and I think they're absolutely beautiful in this space. So I'm thrilled that we did it again. And I wanted to make the cabinetry in some spots feel a little bit like a piece of furniture. So sort of a dresser treatment to the kitchen cabinets here. And also, so far as furniture style, we opted for a table interpretation for the kitchen island. So I love that there is negative space underneath, and it's not just a big chunky block of cabinetry. It feels very much like an old work table, and we have so much extra cabinet space because the kitchen is quite sizable that we were able to give up that storage and go for this version, which I'm thrilled about. This is a Gaselier light fixture. This is unlacquered brass, also with handmade porcelain ruffled sconces. I love the ruffle scallop shape, and we've created quite a few moments for that throughout the house, which you will see. And just a simple chimney style range hood. I wanted something as simple as possible, and I think that we accomplished that here. For the kitchen island, I knew that I wanted something that had a high back, that was comfortable, because this is a main place for us to sit and take our meals. And these are a bamboo counter chair. To me, these are not the ones that you see all the time. They're an actual bamboo. They're sizable. They're an armchair. They're very special. They don't make these anymore. I grabbed these about 3 years ago when I knew we were doing the kitchen. And I scored them I think I got them from First Dibs, and I've hid them ever since. And I was so thrilled that everything came together and that they really worked out well. I love the look. It's a little bit French, and it just makes me happy that sort of the dark brown of the bamboo with the marble, with the brass, to me is a perfect combination. And as I mentioned in the laundry room, this is another run of these Duval sconces, which are very, very special to me. They're handmade, and they just give off the most beautiful filtered light in the evening, and I'm thrilled with them. And I also, from Duval, went ahead and bought their beautiful aged brass. This is their finish. It's the Duval aged brass, and I love this faucet here. It has a very vintage feel, and it goes perfectly with the rest of the hardware in the house. And then this is just a good spot for me to keep my cutting boards and a couple of my favorite cookbooks that I go to all of the time. I'm always a fan of having a little lamp in the kitchen. So that one with the simple little block print is a pretty little corner that illuminates in the evening, and I love that. Another sisal in the kitchen, because you can't have too many sisal rugs, but always a sisal runner in front of the sink is a good idea. And when we were designing this space and the renovation for the family, we agreed that a formal dining room was not necessary, and it wasn't terribly appropriate to the house. We decided to skip the formal dining room in lieu of a nice, bright, open eating area within the kitchen. It's very comfortable. We have settee type furniture. We have a couple of love seats on the end just for lounging. So people automatically gravitate to this end. It has a beautiful view of the pool and the garden and the yard. And it's just a really, really comfortable, pretty, cozy spot that balances out the harder, cooler textures and finishes in the kitchen. So it's a really warm spot, a pretty contrast with the rest of the solid surfaces in here. So I'm thrilled the way this turned out. I'm always a collector of antique light fixtures. This beautiful chandelier has traveled around with me for a very long time, and I think she found a rightful place over this dining room table. This is a made of reclaimed wood, but handmade for us, 8-foot table that I purchased from a gal also out in Southold, New York, up on the North Fork. And actually she made this bench as well. So shout out White Flower Farmhouse. Chick blinds in here to complete the look, and a pair of special oil paintings. This one actually was given to me this past Christmas from my mother, who knows that I love little vintage florals, particularly oils, and it has a perfect spot there, and it's very similar to one I'd picked up in the past. So I thought they were a great pair to display here in the kitchen and in the dining area. I am originally from New York City. I was born and raised there, and I was in retail, corporate retail, for many years. That's where the bulk of my work life has taken place. I was in the fashion world. I worked for brands like J. Crew and Kate Spade as a buyer, merchandiser, that type of thing. And then when we were ready to start our family, and I was pregnant with my son, we moved down here to the Jersey Shore. So it's been just about 13 years that we've been here permanently. I grew up coming down here. My grandmother lived close by, so I spent every weekend in summer coming down to the Jersey Shore. My parents wanted me out of the city. So I've always had a fondness for this area, and we're just so happy that we're calling it home now, because we really love it. It's truly special. We have a beautiful river, which is just, 300 feet down the street, the Manasquan River, which is just spectacular, and the ocean is a quarter of a mile away, and it's a very special place, and it's a great place to raise a family. It's such a beautiful day. I think that we should take a little walk outside so I can show you our beautiful patio and pool area and how this new space transition and gives us that wonderful indoor-outdoor feeling. So we're going to go out through another Dutch door, which is here off the kitchen. As you can see, again, these are wonderful that you can just open top or bottom. But in this case, let's open both pieces and we'll head on out. Right off the kitchen is our brand new patio. We also built a garage, which is still slightly under construction, but we love this bluestone patio that this is new for us. We had a pea gravel patio in the past, but putting this really substantial, beautiful stone down has given us a whole new area to dine, to entertain, to relax. So we have some beautiful wicker furniture, a great market umbrella for the shade, lots of new landscaping, a pretty sort of Belgian block pathway, and over time this landscape is really going to develop into something quite beautiful, and we're thrilled to have it. And then we have a walkway here which goes to both the laundry room on one side and a pathway to the pool on the other side. And it's a beautiful day today and the pool looks very inviting, so perhaps we should take a walk this way. So we built this pool in 2020 when we first moved into the house. It was the first thing we tackled. We figured, let's get the hard stuff done and then we'll dream about the inside. So it's a beautiful farm style pool. Some people refer to it as a Hampton style pool. It's a saltwater pool with a beautiful dark bottom. So the water is always very crystal clear and inviting. And we just have a lovely little spot to dine with some pretty teak furniture, some chaise lounge chairs sprinkled around. It's very simple, but we truly enjoy having this space and we use it constantly. It's a very well-loved area for us as a family. And from here, we can go back into the house and I can take you on a tour of the second floor. So let's go ahead and go upstairs and I can show you a couple of the bedrooms upstairs. We consolidated the majority of the work onto the first floor. We touched very little upstairs. We didn't add any additional bedrooms. We renovated one bathroom, which I'll show you. So all of this is very original to the house and it's the perfect setup for our family of three. So come on with me. I am an old house junkie. My husband and I are old house fanatics. He actually grew up in a Victorian hotel in the Caribbean. I grew up in a brownstone, which was, mid 1800s. And we've always had a house or lived in a house that had some age to it. This house, we believe, the tax records don't go terribly far back, sadly, but based on, I've gotten to know one of the former owners and we're able to date it at about approximately 1920, 1925. So the house has beautiful, beautiful bones. That was the main reason that we bought it. It's so full of charm and character, and it's so warm, it's so open. There's tons of natural light. It's just a really warm, charming, happy house, and it made it very, very easy to settle into and decorate because it's just a dynamite little house where it's small on square footage. It's just incredibly big on charm, and we love it. Now we're upstairs on the second floor, which houses 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. And there are a couple of details that I wanted to point out before we visit the couple of bedrooms. Just some beautiful light details that have gone up recently. And again, just a continuation of the exposed brick, which is just really special. And when it's painted in this nice semi-gloss paint, it really stands out. The character is just beautiful and it gives it such an interesting texture. And let's go have a look at the primary bedroom. Very restful. This is a very simple room. We always want our bedroom to just feel like a place of peace. It's very crisp, it's very cool, it's calm. There's not a lot of furniture, not a lot of color and pattern, just some vintage linens. This is a vintage shabby chic duvet cover, which I've had for probably 25 years, which I love. And we'll change out the bedding and throw pillows throughout the year, but it pretty much stays like this. This is something that we did add during the renovation. Again, the punch detail in the closet doors helps for ventilation, and it also looks very pretty. So I'm glad that we added this here. This gave us some extra storage that we needed because the house is very small on storage, and Betty loves it up here too, as you can see. In the primary, we have this little blue dresser, which has come with us for many, many years. I picked this up, I believe I picked this up at Brimfield in Massachusetts, the antique fair. And just simple white mirrors are something that I love, following along that very white, crisp, fresh bedroom feeling. I always grab pretty frames when I see them. You kind of can't have too many mirrors. It's not a vanity thing at all. I just love the way the light bounces around the room when you have lots of mirrors. As you probably know, it's a great trick. A pretty pair of French-inspired night tables. Actually, they're a mismatched pair, we'll call them, but very French with their detailing, and a beautiful pair of marble lamps. I also collect marble lamps, and when you can find a pair, it's quite remarkable. So always grab them when you can. And again, just a simple, very neutral block print shade on the lamps to continue that sort of block print thread that is moving throughout the house. And yeah, just some pretty French doors that move into the primary bath and sort of a dressing room area. So it gives us a little bit of separation, which is quite nice. And wall-to-wall sisal for the floor here in the primary suite, which is really nice to have underfoot. And I love that we pushed it pretty much to the outer edge in this space. Collection, another piece in the collection of slip-covered furniture. This is a vintage little French bench with a linen slipcover that has traveled with us throughout the years. Usually a good spot to put your folded laundry or clothes for the next day, but it's just a pretty little moment under the window and a good place to sit. This room doesn't fit too much in the way of larger scale furniture, so having a little petite bench like this is a great item to have to kind of move around in spaces that are a little bit tight on space. So we love having this in the bedroom for a variety of uses. So we love to host friends. We have a very small family, so we don't get a lot of big family get-togethers, but we love to have all of my son's friends are here all the time. We have a really nice group of friends, and we love to have people pop by. We put in a beautiful, the first year that we bought the house, right after we bought the house, we knew that we wanted to put in a pool. So we knew that the house was going to be worked on over time, but we wanted to get this pool in. So we put this spectacular pool in, did all of the landscaping, and then we love to have people come over and swim, and we entertain by the pool, and it's a really, really nice sort of indoor-outdoor entertaining scenario in this house, which is very special to us because we love the way that, from the kitchen, everything flows into the patio, that flows into the pool and the beautiful porch. So it's a fantastic house for entertaining. Let's go from here. I just wanted to show you my son's bedroom and his bathroom, which he likes to call it, which we were able to renovate as part of our project. Welcome to my son's room. I have a 13-year-old son, and this is where he loves to sort of get away from any noisiness in the house, and this is his little peace and quiet zone. A very cool sort of farmhouse-inspired vintage brass bed in aged brass, which is super cozy and perfect for a 13-year-old boy. This is a drawing that my son did in school that to me was very much reminiscent of a Hugo Guinness sketch. So this is a pride of place here. And then this is just a fun little vintage wolf and little lamb print that we picked up for him on one of our antiquing trips, and his honor roll spot, which is very exciting for us. And this is a pair of nautical maps that my husband and I purchased when we first got married. We lived on Cape Cod for a very short amount of time. And we lived in a town called Cottage, which was really teeny tiny. And we bought these nautical charts of Martha's Vineyard to Block Island. And we kind of flagged where our little house was. And we had these cut up into two when my son was born, and they were hanging in his nursery, and they've been with us ever since. So it's just a little special sort of nod to where we lived in the past. And they're quite pretty, and the colors are lovely. A little vintage chest of drawers that we picked up that used to be his changing table when he was a little itty-bitty baby. A vintage bookcase, a simple glass lamp that, I don't know, this just feels very cool and kind of coastal and sweet, and a pretty reclaimed mirror for his room, and that finishes it off. And it's just a nice boy's room, very simple, comfortable, and a nice spot for him, which he loves. So let's go into our guest bedroom, which I'll show you because I think that you will enjoy the pattern play in this space. just a little guest room that we have. I wanted to sort of drench this room in pattern. So this is Lei and Yen out of Hudson, New York, bedding and curtains. And I love the cozy vibe that this sets in this room. And it's just like a cocoon when you close the curtains at night. It's just a very restful place. A pretty vintage bed that I got when I graduated from college in my first apartment. A massive television, but it's nice to lay in bed and watch TV. And a very cute old vintage chest of drawers that we bought when we lived on Cape Cod. And a nice pair of botanicals. I think the scale and the black frames in this space work really well because they stand out. And to have a pair flanking the windows is very special. And some vintage linens, pretty vintage pillowcases. A lovely armoire that came to us from when we lived in Massachusetts. We bought this on Charles Street in Boston and has been with us ever since. Great for storage, again, for an itty bitty house that doesn't have too much storage. And a nice vintage chandelier to hang over the bed, I think is a really special thing. It's a really nice focal point in this room. And even if the room is small, it's nice to have a low fixture because nobody's going to bang their head because there's a bed under it. So it's quite practical too. And a pretty antique chair that was bought in Frenchtown. A really pretty antique chair with original paint. A very pretty pink and green floral. That's a special little chair. So it always manages to find a little spot. And I think it's found its permanent spot in this space. So a pretty little bedroom for guests. This is the second story bathroom that we did tackle during our renovation. It was in pretty rough shape, and we knew since we were working in the house, we wanted to go ahead and get this done. So you open up this pretty barn door. Actually, it looks quite pretty when it's closed. So there's pretty privacy glass. You swing through the barn door and you come into this charming little bathroom. We added a bathtub. We oriented the shower and bath in front of the window, which opened up the space incredibly. It had a stall shower before. This is the little vintage medicine chest that came from a little cottage that we actually recently purchased about a year and a half ago that is right next door to us, which you'll have to come back and see one day. It's a little 1930s kit cottage, a kit house, and this came from the bathroom there. Again, we did floor to ceiling beadboard in this bathroom, which gives it a lot of charm and character. We added another Duval sconce up here, a little itty bitty vanity with some pretty polished nickel fixtures, which I think just really works well in here. And then some pretty unlacquered brass hooks for towels and for robes. And a lovely little nautical oil painting, which is on the list of things that Hilary collects. So I think that the color story in here is quite pretty. And it's a very successful little bathroom. The pretty waterworks fixtures in here as well. And not to be neglected, we had to add a block print in here too. So a pretty scalloped edge block print shower curtain, which I think kind of ties it all together and dresses it up just a little bit. Home means a place that is peaceful and calm and serene and a haven from the outside world, a place that you can retreat to, that all of the people and things that you love are all in one place. And it's really just kind of a slice, a little slice of heaven and a haven from the outside world, and just where you walk in and you instantly feel calm and comfortable and cool in the summer and warm in the winter, and it just envelops you and gives you a sense of calm. Thank you for coming today, Homeworthy. It was so fun to show you around my house, but it's time for you to go now. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.